And so I think this is important for every leader to think through is how do you process failure? What do you think of it? Is it an indictment of you? Or is it a chance to learn and a chance to move forward? Is it a feature? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I am the founder of Forward Partners, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Emily Grace Deal, what are we talking about today?
We have a quote today.
Okay,
we have a couple of quotes.
Okay, 2 quotes. Let's go.
I wasn't a failed DJ. I was pre-successful. This is said by Jason Mendoza from The Good Place, one of my favorite TV shows.
A show you love.
Yes.
I think I watched the first season and I think gave up, but that's common for me. I don't really finish shows. I wasn't a failed DJ. I was pre-successful. Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that, Jake. Here's another one from Einstein. Failure is success and progress.
Okay, so clearly we're talking about failure today.
Yes.
So I love these two sides to the same coin. I wasn't a failed DJ. I was pre-successful. And failure is success and progress. And this is really interesting as I think about, like, as much as we develop leaders, like at my heart, I'm kind of an entrepreneur. I love starting things. I love building things. There are so many failures. We're approaching my 20th year in business. There are so many failures over the last 20 years, like uncountable number of failures, right? And I think the reason we're talking about this episode being reframing failure, because how we think about failure matters deeply.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it dictates what happens after that point of failure.
Yes.
So when we have a point of failure, what happens after is what matters the most.
Right.
The failure is the failure. Like, those are going to happen.
Well, you can't really do much about it.
You can't. Like, once it's happened, it's happened. But ultimately, how we view failure determines what happens next. So if I view failure as this massive, like, world-ending, all my value is tied up in not failing, I'm probably going to quit. And I think there's a reason 90% of businesses fail in the first decade, because we have this idea of what failure is. And the way I like to think about it is failure a bug or a feature? Is it a part of the process that's supposed to happen? Or is it this problem that popped up and then shame kicks in and now I give up?
Right. If we got rid of all the failures, then we'd probably just be a little stagnant, right?
Yes, we absolutely would be, because a lot of failure comes from, not all of it, but a lot of it comes from, I'm trying something new and I'm really not good at it. Like, the first time you ride a bike, the first thing you do is fall off of it. What happens after you fall off determines whether or not
figure out how not to keep doing it.
Yeah, like riding a bike, I think, is probably a good analogy, because if you fall off and you don't immediately get back up and get back on that bike, you're probably never going to be a great bike rider.
Yeah.
If you see it as this is a final point of failure, you're done. But if you just get back up, you get on, you fall off again, you get back up, you get on, you fall off again.
And it's very similar, but a bigger scale. But if you get in a car accident, I know it's like you have to get back in and drive again, or you like that fear will just take over.
Absolutely. And it really is what happens afterwards. And one of the questions as I was thinking about this, I wrote down is, do you love winning or hate failing?
Yeah.
And I think this is an important distinction, because I do love winning. I don't hate failing. And I think the hating failing is where we can get tripped up.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people go to insane lengths to avoid failure because they hated it. They weren't really concerned about winning. They were concerned about not failing. And again, this goes back to what do we think of things? How do we value things?
Yeah.
Do we value failure as a learning experience, or do we see it as proof that we are broken as human beings? Like, that matters deeply to how we then respond to it.
Yeah, like if that fear of failure has outgrown the desire to win, then you can slowly lose the ability to try.
Absolutely. And it reminds me, Connor, my middle son, I was complaining, this was years ago, I was complaining about something that happened in the business, a big challenge, kind of knocked us down a little bit, and I always refer to it as getting knocked down. And he said, Dad, do you love getting knocked down? Because you really seem to do it a lot. Like, it seems like there's always some challenge knocking you down left and right. And I said, yeah, there is. I said, I don't love getting knocked down. I really don't. But I actually love getting back up. I love that art of, okay, we had a really bad day. I'm going to sit on my back porch. I'm going to process. I'm going to think through this. And I'm going to find that place inside me that says, okay, get back on the bike. Let's go. Let's keep moving forward. I love that moment. And that love of it, I think, is what's kept me going for 20 years.
Yeah, the problem-solve nature of, like, how do we keep going?
Yes. And so I think this is important for every leader to think through is, how do you process failure? What do you think of it? Is it an indictment of you? Or is it a chance to learn and a chance to move forward? Is it a feature? Because if it's a feature and it's supposed to happen, when you see it, you go, okay, that makes sense. What am I going to learn? Let's move forward.
Yeah.
If it's a bug, if it's a problem, if it's something broken for you, then ultimately you're more likely to give up. And so I think this matters because, again, as leaders, if we're driving a team and we're driving them in a way that we're afraid of failure, we're going to drive them in a really
that's what I was
way.
thinking about, because like the ability to get back up, if you're mirroring that for your team, then, or if you're doing that for them, they can mirror that ability to say it's okay.
Yeah.
Because if you're constantly saying this is terrible, then they're going to go, well, obviously it's terrible. And also they're going to stop bringing you their failures.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, well, he thinks they're terrible and that they're failures.
That's
like
it. And it sets such a bad precedent for the team and creates an unhealthy team because there becomes this expectation of perfection.
Yeah.
And we're never, ever, ever going to get there. I don't care how excellent we do things, we're never going to get to perfection. And so when we say you always have to be perfect, we are setting our people up for a big, big fall.
That's why I really like that these two quotes came from these two people, because it's
and
Jason
they're so
Mendoza.
Right?
Yes.
What I remember of Good Place is he's pretending to be a monk, but he's
kind of an airhead.
Yeah, like, he's just an idiot. He's a lovable idiot, and you got Einstein over here on the other side, right? Like, that's a big gap, but they're both these same ideas that failure is a part of the journey.
Yeah,
and I think we need to see it that way as leaders. And so, leaders, let's talk next steps for you. Is failure a bug or a feature? Do you love winning or do you just hate failing? Those are very subtle distinctions, but they matter. What does failure say about your self-worth? What does it say about your value? And understanding what it says and the way you see it can change things, because you can then change how you choose to see failure. When I see failure, I don't love it, but I love that we get to learn from it. I celebrate the learning from the failure. When I get a critical email, I get so much more out of that than when I get a positive email, because I can learn. And so if we're failing but celebrating the learning, that's the mode we need to be in, because ultimately leadership is a lot of getting knocked down. You got to love getting back up. And that is all about your mindset around failure. So I would encourage you to reframe failure if you need to. If people want to send us more quotes, either from Einstein or Jason Mendoza or anywhere else, where do they send that to?
lab@forwardpartners.net.
lab@forwardpartners.net. If they want to find us online, we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. We're putting out content all the time about leadership development. Where do they find that?
@ForwardPartner.
@ForwardPartner on all those platforms. Emily, thank you for doing this. John, thank you for producing. And thank you for watching. If you find these talks helpful, please share them with fellow leaders. We want to reach as many people and impact as many leaders as possible, and you're part of that journey. We will see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.